Good afternoon and welcome to Not Minding My Own Business. I am your host and your elder law and estate planning and real estate attorney, Russell Farbiars. I am joined today by April Crossley. And April, I don't know that I can describe you in any other way other than real estate guru. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you on the show. I've wanted to have you on for quite a while. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do, and then I sort of want to get into your story because I think that your story is really inspirational.
Sure. So right now, I own a couple different real estate investment companies. So we have a flipping and wholesaling company. I own small multifamily properties. I do some capital raising for larger apartment complexes. So like guys that buy 100 units and 300 units and stuff like that, I'll usually join them and partner with them to purchase stuff. I own a mobile home park. I own some shared housing, and I'm super passionate about affordable housing and providing affordable housing for especially seniors. Because I have a healthcare background. I worked in healthcare for 13 years. And then I kind of started doing real estate on the side. I just started flipping houses and buying some rentals. And then once I was flipping enough houses and had enough rentals, my cash flow from that actually exceeded my income from my job in healthcare. So I retired from healthcare, didn't retire from working, but retired from healthcare when I was 35. So that was 10 years ago, to pursue real estate full time so that I could focus more on buying more rental properties. So I do a lot in the real estate space. I have an education company. I'm super passionate about helping people grow wealth. We have this saying in my business, grow wealth, change lives. I feel like everything you do in life is hard. Like being poor and not having money is hard. And some people will say owning your own business is hard and trying to grow wealth is hard. And it is. Anyone that makes it sound like it's easy peasy is probably selling you something, because it's not. It's very hard. But I come from a background where I had my son very young. I had my son when I was 16. I was on welfare. I was in that position where I had no money, and it's very hard. And you worry every day about how you're going to make ends meet. So you have a choice to either stay stuck in that place or start doing something about it. So when I was completely not financially educated at all when I was younger. I was just taught, grow up, get a good job, retire when you're 65, and then live your life. And now I realize that that's the crappiest thing anyone can tell you. So I started just financially educating myself and reading books about real estate. And then this is where I ended up. And I hope to just keep growing.
I agree with you. I think the mentality in our country is that you graduate high school, maybe you go to college or vocational school, you get a job, but you don't start living until you retire. Mm-hmm. Except that not all of us get there. And
right.
And especially from my background of working with the senior population, even when you get there, you have limitations, you have health issues. So I think it's really important that and at least for me, I think the pandemic really highlighted this is the importance of not living for tomorrow, but living for today. And so how did you learn that lesson so early on in life?
I feel like I just kind of chase things that bring me joy. So I don't know if I learned it too early in life, but I've never been the type of person that's afraid. I kind of just jump and build my parachute on the way down. I'm not the type of person that has to have everything figured out. I'm not detail oriented, and that everybody's different, but that's kind of worked to my advantage. So when I started my job being self-employed, just working in my own real estate business, even then, I don't think I quite saw the whole, you have to live for today and get out and do stuff. I was just working constantly. If you think you work hard when you work for someone else, once you open your own business, no one tells you. Everyone makes it seem like it's some kind of dream everyone has to work for themselves. And you just doubled the amount of hours that you're going to work when you open your own business. It's pretty crazy. So I honestly, I left. The lesson for me, I had to jump and build my parachute on the way down. So I sold my house and I was burnt out and sold all of my belongings. And my husband and I went and traveled around the United States for a little over a year in our RV. And what that did was, because I left my business, I was living on the West Coast. My business is mostly on the East Coast. I had to learn how to replace myself in my business, which as a business owner should be your focus all the time. How am I working on it, but not in it in the day to day? And Russell, what you said about people having limitations when they're older, when we were traveling around the United States RVing, we met so many people who were 50, 60, 70 years old that would say, you're so lucky you're doing it now because you can hike. You can go wherever you want. Your body doesn't have limitations. And I hope I'm still hiking when I'm 70 and 75 years old. But you do have limitations the older that you get. So everyone talks about financial freedom. And a lot of people get the financial part. They can make a great income starting their own business and they start to build wealth, but they lose sight of the freedom. And what happens is they've lost all that freedom. They're sacrificing time with their family. They're sacrificing their downtime and sanity, and they're just working non-stop. So the financial piece is there, but the freedom piece goes away. And then you end up being miserable, just owning your own business, working nonstop and being miserable. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing with owning your own business, is that you're always working. Even if you aren't working, you're thinking about the business, and and I agree with you on the need to be able to replace yourself in your business. I've personally read a lot of business books. The probably the most influential one was a book called Traction by Gino Wicks.
Love that book.
Yeah. And we could talk for hours about traction.
Yeah.
But that's sort of for at least for my business, that's some of the guiding principles of what underlie, what we do. Sounds like it's probably the same for you, because it's so important to be able to replace you so that you can spend time sort of at the 10,000, 30,000 foot view, trying to figure out what's next and creating a plan and being intentional.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, so I'm curious now, how have you implemented some of those principles in your business?
Yeah. So I think definitely, Traction's big on tracking your KPIs, your key performance indicators. And, I'm doing X amount of marketing, or I'm focusing on this person as my ideal client, and this is the marketing I'm doing for them. But what return is that getting me? Am I really getting a return on that? And I feel like you should do that with everything you do in your business. So I have a YouTube channel, or you have a podcast. It's okay, is the YouTube channel bringing me business? Is the podcast bringing me business? Is my sales team bringing me business? We have a sales team and they have numbers and they have to hit those goals. And if they don't hit those goals, then we have to let that person go. So definitely tracking all your numbers. I find, especially in real estate, a lot of wholesalers and flippers will say, oh, I do marketing via mail, and I do marketing via cold calling, and I reach out to brokers. And it's okay, but which one of those is giving you the most bang for your buck? Or are you just wasting money? I would say that tracking the KPIs and having team meetings. So my business partner and I having one big meeting for an hour or two, however long it takes us. We meet on a Friday morning. And then every other day of the week, the whole team, like our acquisitions people and our sales people, we're meeting for like 15 minutes every morning just to have a quick powwow. Like, here's what's going on in our business. This is where we're headed. What do we have going on? Making sure everyone's on the same page and rowing in the same direction is really important. Yeah.
Absolutely. We don't do the daily meetings, but we do a weekly sort of, which is a start, but we do the same thing every Friday. We meet so that we can talk about what our goals are for the next week, so that we make sure everyone's going in the same direction. So
that book is great, but there's so much you can implement. I think my business partner and I have read it twice, and we're still like, can go back and probably read it 5 more times and implement different things.
I've read Traction twice, and then I've read some of the other books in the series as well, that have been incredibly helpful. And so I'm always pleased when I find another business owner who's I guess drunk the Kool-Aid when it comes to Traction.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, honestly, they'll open their own business, but they're not running it like a business. And that's where I was at before, when I was miserable.
Right.
Like when I left healthcare and started working on my own, I was like, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be the best thing I've ever done. And a couple of years later, I'm like, I hate my life. Like, and I had given up my healthcare license, so it's not like I could go back. But I was like, I hate my life. I would much rather be working for someone else and not have all this stress. And so I had to start connecting with other business owners who were kind of like, you're good at what you do. You're just doing it wrong. Like, you're not running your business like a business. And people who really care about you are not just going to go along with everything you say. They're going to be brutally honest with you. And like your good friends and your good colleagues will say, like, you're doing this wrong. This is how you should be doing it. And that's what happened to me. They were like, you don't need to quit real estate. You just need to do it the right way. You're trying to do everything on your own, and you're not running it like a business. You're running it like a side gig, which is how it started for me. So I had to get serious about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And lawyers have a tendency of saying, I don't run a business, I run a law practice. But a law practice is a business.
Yes.
And that's a realization that a lot of lawyers don't make or refuse to make. But I want to talk a little bit, we could, like I said, we could spend an hour on Traction, but I want to talk a little bit about the different businesses that you are, that you're running right now.
Yeah. So we have a flipping wholesaling business where we buy houses off market. We help we're not real estate agents. We help kind of atypical sellers, like people who have houses that, I'll give you some examples from this week, like cockroach infested, flea infested, half sliding off the foundation, hoarding. We have a hoarder, bad hoarder we're working with now. Like, we purchase houses that, like, one of my clients whose home we're purchasing in Berks County now said to me, literally, the real estate agent pulled up outside my house, sat there and looked at my house for a few minutes, and then pulled away and told me to call someone like you, because it's not a house you can put on the market. That's the kind of stuff we purchase. So we have that company, and then we acquire small apartment buildings, like 6 units, 8 units, and things like that. So we hold rental property, and we're super really into like providing affordable housing. So really clean apartments that are priced very well. So I would say all of our apartments are below market rate, and we keep them in good condition. We're definitely not the type of apartment buyers that will buy something, renovate it like to the max, like it came out of a magazine, and then charge top dollar rent, because I just feel like there's so many people that cannot afford that. They just want something nice and clean and well done without the super high price tag. So that's like kind of a separate business that I have. And then my husband and I do private money lending. So we'll like lend money to other investors that flip and buy rental properties. So I have a self-directed IRA that I do that through. And then we also do some of it with our personal funds. So that's kind of like a third business. And then, what else do we
Well,
do?
talk about your real estate coaching that you've been
Oh,
doing.
yeah. So I have a coaching company called Lazy Girl REI, Lazy Girl Real Estate Investing. And I'm not a lazy person. So people are like, where did the word lazy come from? I just tell people laziness has become my genius. Like when I started in real estate, I knew nothing about houses, nothing about repair costs, none of that. And I realized that I didn't have to know about any of that. I just had to know how to do marketing and how to talk to sellers, and contractors and other people are really good at all the other things. So I don't have to know how to do everything. I just have to pull together the team that does. So
Right.
I'm really passionate about helping people get started in real estate investment, whether that's flipping or owning rental property, which is really the true path to wealth, or private money lending, which is also the true path to wealth, and in some circumstances really great for people that need tax deductions, like high income earners that need tax deductions. So my coaching company is kind of like for people that are looking to get started in real estate investing or looking to grow their real estate investing business, but don't quite know how to grow. So we teach people primarily to buy real estate with other people's money using private money. I believe that you have a duty to use private money so that you can help people who don't have time to buy their own real estate grow wealth. A lot of people feel like, I don't want to borrow money from someone. And I say that's the wrong way to look at it. Like when I first started buying real estate, I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. And there was a guy that had money and he was like, listen, I want to be on the golf course. And that's what I want to do. I'm retired. So I want to give you my money and I want you to buy real estate with it. And then you're going to pay me a return on that money and buy the real estate, use the money, refinance, give me my money back, or sell the house and get me my money back with an interest rate that a bank couldn't even touch. So that's what we did. So what I learned from that was he would have not been able to grow wealth if I didn't use his money. Okay. And I wouldn't have been able to grow wealth if he didn't offer to do private money lending. So you're kind of like a team. So we really teach people how to private lend and how to buy real estate using private money so that you can help each other grow wealth faster.
So do you have courses that you offer online, or is it just a coaching community? How does it work?
Kind of both. We have a Facebook group, Lazy Girl REI, for just like anybody that wants to kind of jump in and ask questions about real estate or private money. And then we have a 4-week course that we sell online as well at lazygirlrei.com, that teaches people how to find properties and how to use private money and stuff like that. And then we have some other courses, like we have a rehab course where people can learn about rehab costs, that one of our coaches has been a contractor for like 30 years and he put that course together. So it's really like an online course. And then we hold mastermind meetings a few times a year. So like we have one coming up in October that we used to just do them for our students. And this year's the first year we're opening them to the public. So we're like, hey, if you want to come to our mastermind and we're going to talk about everything real estate investing. Because just like you had said about the traction book and like getting excited when you meet other people that are in that same mindset, it's the same way with real estate or just growing wealth in general. It's hard to find people that like are really into growing wealth and are worried about like, how am I going to take care of my family and my community and grow my net worth? And so you really have to like connect with like-minded people. So we're trying to foster that by like holding mastermind meetings now.
And are those in-person masterminds, or do you do those? You do those in person?
Yeah, we do them in person.
And so what is the structure of those meetings?
Yeah. So when we hold the in-person mastermind meeting, it's usually like a 2-day event. So the one we have in October is October 11th and 12th. And people will come, we'll have like a networking time. And then we do a different different speakers at every meeting. So this meeting we have coming up, we have like a panel of private money lenders coming in. So it's a whole bunch of people I know that we all do private money lending. We're going to sit in the front of the room and let people just fire questions at us about private money lending. And then we have another coach coming up from Florida that teaches like creative financing. So we usually have about 3 or 4 people that teach something different at every meeting. And then in between that teaching, we do networking things. So we'll do like, put like questions up on the screen. Like the one I love is, what do you do and what do you need in your business? So you'll have like 2 minutes where people will rotate and you'll go around to everybody and be like, what do you do and what do you need? Or like, what's working for you and what's not working for you in your business, so that you can help each other like answer those questions and connect with people that you need to connect with. So I might be like, hey, I flip houses, but I need more private money because I'm scaling my business. And the person I'm talking to might be a private money lender. So then they might say, hey, I have private money, but I need more borrowers. So we try to keep the mastermind meetings pretty small, usually like around 30 people, because we want it to be 2 days where people really get to know each other and connect. I've been to a lot of big events that are like 100, 200 people, and I don't like that. I feel like I just get lost in the room and I'm trying to connect with everybody, but it's impossible. So we like to keep these on the smaller side.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Now, if you're someone who's listening and thinking, that private money lending might be interesting to them, can you just talk a little bit about, break it down, like, but not too much, because obviously I want them to sign up for your course. But a little like intro on, what exactly is it?
Yeah. So private money lending is interesting. This was an eye-opener for me. Even though I was using private money, I never thought I could be a private money lender when I was younger, until I was meeting with a private money lender, like raising capital for my business. And the private lender said to me, why aren't you a private money lender? And I was like, because I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. And he was like, well, what did you do with all your old retirement accounts? Because I worked in healthcare and I worked at like 4 different hospitals over 13 years. And he was like, you should take your old retirement accounts and roll them over into what's called a self-directed IRA. And then you can lend money on real estate. And first thing I said to him, I just fired it back. I was like, is that even legal? That sounds illegal. And he's like, it's perfectly legal. It works the same way as any other retirement account. So some people lend from retirement accounts. Some people lend from just regular savings accounts. Everybody's different. But I explain it. This is the simplest way to explain it. When you take your money, you work really hard and you earn money, you put your money in the bank. The bank pays you, I don't know what the return is now. You can go to bankrate.com. It's probably less than 0.5%. Sometimes they put signs out front saying they have CDs, you can put it in at like 4%. Those signs are super funny to me because as private lenders, we make way more than that. So you put your money in the bank and they pay you this very small return. And then what the bank does is the bank takes your money and they lend it to other people for car loans, real estate, all kinds of stuff. And the bank charges them 7%, 8%, 9%. So I ask people, so why aren't you the bank? Like, why don't you just cut out the middleman? So what we do as private lenders is we just take our money, and instead of putting it in the bank at less than 0.5%, we take our money and we lend it to people that buy real estate, buy houses, buy apartment buildings, and they're paying us 8%, 10%, 14%, depending on the deal, return on our money. So our wealth is growing much faster than it would if our money was just sitting in a bank account.
And traditionally, these are shorter term loans. These are not your 15 or 30-year loans. These are usually what, 6 to 18 months?
Sometimes. If you're lending to like a flipper or someone that's buying rentals and then doing cash out refinance, I know I'm throwing a lot of terms out here, but it's typically 6 to 9 months. Sometimes if you're like a high income earner and you have a larger chunk of money and you're looking for tax deductions, you're not necessarily looking to like make a high interest rate on short term because you get taxed on that. If you're looking for tax deductions, what we do is we take our money and we invest it in what's called the syndication, which is a longer term deal. That your money is usually out for 3, 5, 7, or 10 years, but then you're more of a partner on a building. So you can get tax deductions in that scenario. So there's lots of different ways that you can private lend depending on what your needs are.
Very, very interesting. It's different ways to create wealth.
Oh yeah.
Now, as a landlord, do you run into situation, how do you avoid situations where people, where you have tenants who don't pay, or you have to get them out? How do you make sure that, because it all sounds great as long as everyone pays their rent. The moment when people stop paying their rent, that becomes an issue.
Right. So 2 things on this. One, we treat people like people. I find that a lot of landlords might not do that. So we treat human beings like human beings. So when COVID happened, this is a great example. People were like, oh man, everybody's going to stop paying rent. COVID was such a weird thing for landlords because we were told you couldn't evict if people didn't pay rent. But instead of taking that approach, we sent letters to our residents and we're like, listen, if you need toilet paper, Lysol wipes, gloves, masks, call us and we're going to drop it off for you. If you need food, here's a list of food banks, or we will buy you. There were sites where you could buy like a box of food that will last someone a week. We did have tenants reach out to us and say, I could use a box of food. We dropped off boxes of food. I need Lysol wipes. I need masks. I need toilet paper. We had a supply house where we were ordering toilet paper like directly. So we kind of jumped into action and we're just like, hey, we're here for you. Communicate with us. If you can't pay your rent, tell us, let us know what you need so that we can support you during this time. So we treat people like people. With that said, we also run our business like a business. So you sign a lease agreement with them and we run a pretty tight ship. Like we have a due date that our rent's due on the 1st, but people can pay online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If they don't pay, we reach out to them and say, hey, we didn't get your rent payment. What's going on? Do you need any help? We wait for them to respond. I always tell my residents, the worst thing you can do is not communicate. Just communicate with me so I can help you. So if they're like, oh, my pay was short or this or that, I'll pay it in a week. Then I'm like, great, that's totally fine. Pay it in a week. We waive their late fee. We just keep an open line of communication. At the same time, you do once in a while have people that try to take advantage of that, and you have to run it like a business. So when you get to a certain point where you're like, I've tried to work with you, but now I have to start the eviction process. And I hate that word eviction. Like I hate eviction. I hate that word. It's a mark on someone's record that can prevent them from renting in the future. And no landlord wants to do that. No landlord should want to do that. It's a horrible road to go down. So usually I'll say, we're going to have to start eviction because I haven't heard from you if they're not communicating. But if you communicate with me or pay, I can stop the eviction process like right now. So that really is a last resort. So you do really have to run it like a business though. It's a fine balance between having heart, but also knowing that you're running a business. Yeah.
That makes sense because if you don't come down, you have to come down on people sometimes, but if you give them the opportunity to do the right thing, most of the time people will do the right thing. They don't want to be.
I found that too. Yeah.
Well, this has been a great conversation, April. What is the best way if there are listeners who are interested in signing up for your courses or connecting with you, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, our Facebook group is Lazy Girl REI if you're on social media. Our website's lazygirlrei.com, and you can reach me via email. My email address is april@lazygirlrei.com is the best email.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
I appreciate it.